Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
He's still growing as far as really as he gets challenged each week with different blitz packages, pressure, and having to, game plan each week. I'd like for him not to hurdle people. That would be something that he's got to take care of himself.
It's a Talking Tuesday here on Sports Talk, and Dabo Swinney was talking and is still talking about his football team, about his outstanding freshman quarterback, Deshaun Watson, about Saturday's matchup with a very good, at least on paper and on the field as well, Louisville football team. 52 minutes of a news conference today with Dabo Swinney up at Clemson. All of that's on our website, Sports Talk SC. You'll hear some of it tonight here on Sports Talk on a Talking Tuesday. Good to have you with us. Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, Professor Tom Hayes is off tonight. The Steak Man Graham Pope is here as well. Sports Talk coming to you from our downtown Columbia studios on Main Street, and we're happy to have you dialed in wherever you happen to be around the state of South Carolina. Phone number 800-956-7266. Email talkback@sportstalksc.com and on Twitter @sportstalksc. South Carolina practice today. Came off the field a little bit earlier than normal for a Tuesday. Defensive people talking about being defensive, and they're being defensive about their defense. Lorenzo Ward has gotten the boot upstairs into the press box.
Why'd you do that to people?
Just teasing. He is going upstairs, and he's going to be calling the defense from up there, at least for the Furman game and maybe for the rest of the season. He feels like, K-Mac, that's going to give him a better view of things down below.
Yeah, I mean, and that's kind of what he coaches on, a lot of emotion. He's a lot more emotional than Ellis Johnson was. So I don't put any stock in that and proving things. The defense isn't going to become a top 10 defense. And the only problem was this whole time, it just needed to be Lorenzo Ward up in the box.
Yeah.
I mean, what's he going to do up in the box that he can't do on the sideline? He'll be able to see what's going wrong. He'll get to see what people in the stands up high are seeing week in and week out. So, yeah, he'll get a different perspective, but I don't know how he's going to fix it.
Maybe
from
he
up
can
there.
Spot a 6'8", 295-pound defensive end sitting in the stands and get him on the – I mean, listen.
Or maybe he'll be able to call – maybe he'll see what the offense is doing better up there and get a call down faster. But you don't have time to do that with these offenses now.
We all got sucked in the summer. Not just us, the national pundits as well, all picking the Gamecocks in the top 10. Overlooking the fact that the defense took a substantial hit, but thinking that the replacement players would be good enough to keep it going. And obviously,
I was skeptical. I will say, I'll pat myself on the back. I was skeptical about that defense, the new 3-4 scheme.
You do that a lot.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm a see it to believe it type of guy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe in pixie dust and fairy tales. I believe in concrete proof.
Yeah. Well, the proof is that they don't have the players to replace those that left.
Yes.
Back in a moment. Get to your phone calls here shortly. Go ahead and give us a ring, 800-956-7266. Email talkback@sportstalksc.com. A lot of comments left on our website, sportstalksc.com. We'll get to some of those as well tonight. Got a lot to do. Dabo Swinney coming up at the bottom of the hour. We'll also hear from Lorenzo Ward, his comments following the Gamecocks practice. Louisville coach Bobby Petrino, and also USC basketball coach Frank Martin, and also Chip Weil from Darlington. We got a bunch of stuff coming your way tonight here on Sports Talk. You want to join in and let your opinion be heard across the state. This is the place to do it, and now is the time. 800-956-7266 is the phone number. Let's update a few things. First of all, KMAC baseball. What's going on?
Yeah, the Dodgers and the Cardinals have moved to the fifth inning, no score. So we've got a little bit of a pitcher's duel. Clayton Kershaw throwing on 3 days rest.
First time all season on 3 days rest for him?
All season, yeah. Not his first time that he's ever done it. Actually, He did it last year against the Braves on 3 days rest and won. He's 2-0 on 3 days rest with an ERA under 1. But he's pretty impressive on any day's rest, it seems like. But back against the wall here in St. Louis, those Cardinals, man, goodness gracious. They are a tough team to beat in October.
Yeah,
no doubt about it. They're just a different team in October than they are the rest of the season.
Just great mindset, great approach, terrific managers to get them there. All right, from the SEC, a couple of pieces of rotten news. From Florida, of course, they're dealing with the Treon Harris suspension from yesterday because he's being investigated for an alleged sexual assault. And so now freshman quarterback Skyler Morningweg and freshman defensive end Gerald Willis III, they exchanged blows in a fight outside the Swamp today. A Florida spokesman said that there was just a misunderstanding between two teammates. Apparently, according to GatorBait.net, it had something to do with Morningweg finding a pair of his missing cleats in Willis's locker. And the confrontation escalated until the two came to blows, according to the report.
I bet you Jeff Driscoll put those cleats in the locker.
I'll show you.
Said, hey, I'm going to knock off anybody that can play in front of me one by one. A very elaborate scheme by Jeff Driscoll to maintain the starting job there with the Florida Gators.
Up at Kentucky, freshman defensive end Lloyd Tubman arrested by Lexington Fayette County Police, first-degree rape charge. This, according to the Louisville Courier-Journal. The Wildcats and Mark Stoops announced earlier today that Tubman had been suspended indefinitely from all team activities, though without specifying a reason. He was a member of Kentucky's recruiting class of 2014. So all that news, not good news at all. From USC, Lorenzo Ward said the defense is going to be simplified after the rough 6 games. He is going to move up into the press box, as we said earlier, working more on tackling drills this week. And all positions on the defense are considered open at this particular time. Injury report, Brandon Wilds with a knee, Corey Robinson left foot, Cody Waldrop right knee, Austin Hales also still injured. They were in yellow. Kawan Lewis has a heel, Sherrod Golightly not disclosed, banged up, but should be okay. And Devin Washington returned to practice. Up at Clemson, Tyshawn Dye is back in practice, according to Dabo Swinney. He is in a green jersey, which is their non-contact practice jersey, but he is back working once again. He's been beset by injuries ever since he got to Clemson, but they'd love to get him healthy and get him in a position where he can contribute. Joe Gore remains out for this week. They hope that he'll be back next week. Jay Guillermo is out for this week as well. So the Tigers scheduled to start the same offensive line this week that they started the previous 2 weeks. So for the third week in a row, they'll have the same starting offensive line, something they did not do in the first 3 weeks of the season, did not start offensive lines, same ones on consecutive weeks. So they've kind of settled in now and got their offensive line maybe coming together. And I'll say this from watching some of the tape of the NC State game, I thought the offensive line did a terrific job pass protecting for Deshaun Watson, gave him plenty of opportunity to sit back there and look for receivers and then decide to take off and run whenever he wanted to. This tragic story from the state of Alabama, AL.com reporting out of Huntsville that star high school football player Julian Jones committed suicide, 16 years old, considered one of the top 20 prospects in the state of Alabama for 2016. Defensive end and tight end, 6'5", 230. His father is former NFL tight end Anthony Jones. South Carolina, it says here, one of the schools that was showing recruiting interest in him. So that's certainly a sad, sad, tragic deal there. The Panthers have placed fullback Richie Brockle on IR, ending his season. They have signed cornerback James Dockery to take his place on the roster. The Braves today announced changes to the front office. They unveiled their revamped baseball operation departments. They added two of the most respected scouts and talent evaluators in the game, Roy Clark and Gordon Blakely, both named as special assistants to the GM. Promoted one of their top scouts, Brian Bridges, to scouting director, replacing Tony Damasio, who's been offered another position in the organization. Hired Dave Tremblay as director of player development and named Jonathan Sherholtz as assistant director of player development. He's the son of longtime former GM John Sherholtz. They still have not named a permanent GM, and seems strong indication the AJC says that they'll stay in-house and have interim GM John Hart be the full-time GM, or possibly assistant John Colella could move into that role of a full-time GM. And let's see, in NASCAR, Richard Petty Motorsports news conference tomorrow. Charlotte Observer reports that Sam Hornish Jr. will be announced as the driver of the number 9 car, replacing Marcos Ambrose, who was leaving after this season to return to Australia. Hornish is 35, and he's been driving for Joe Gibbs this season, 1 Sprint Cup car race for him, and 8 nationwide races for Sam Hornish. So he's headed to Petty Enterprises. And I think we've hit all the big stuff. So to your call we go, 800-5672-66. Let's welcome in Gary from Aiken to Sports Talk tonight. Good evening, Gary. How you doing?
How you doing? Question. That quarterback from Kentucky, was that the quarterback Spurrier is trying to get, and he decided to change his mind?
You mean the one that South Carolina had recruited heavily out of Kentucky? No, that was not him. Drew Barker is the one that they recruited. He's a backup. In fact, he wasn't available for the game. He was one of the kids suspended for the air gun. Yeah.
Okay. And strengthening coach. He seemed like they get tired all the time, man.
I haven't.
There's been no complaints about the strength and conditioning of the team.
Yeah, I mean it's the same.
Yeah,
the same strength and conditioning coach that you had last year when you won 11, the year before when you won 11.
Yeah.
So I mean, I didn't sense anybody.
The cold, hard fact of the matter is the realization is that they're just not nearly as good personnel-wise on defense.
Yeah, they're not as good
that they were the last 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And go back and look at some of the names that have come through and look at what you got out there right now. It just doesn't compare. It might improve, next year and the year after, but you're going to have to live with what you've got this year.
What about the ex-Miami Hurricane coach? Wasn't he a defensive coordinator?
Randy Shannon was a linebackers coach and a defensive coordinator, yes.
I just thought maybe he'd be a good fit.
I don't think he'd change anything. I think, Lorenzo Ward just needs to get better players.
Yeah, I mean.
And he is he's got to have better players surrounding him. He doesn't have to go get them all. But he is also one of South Carolina's best recruiters as well, with very strong ties in the Atlanta area in particular. So
people want to fire somebody when they get off to a 3-3 start. That's that's a little drastic.
Hit a break. Be back with more sports talk in a moment. right, we'll do recruiting for you a little bit later on. I talked to DJ Jones last night. I'll bring you the latest on him, but I also asked him about Chad Kelly. Our good friend Jonathan Reynolds does a radio show here in Columbia. Yesterday, he tweeted out the idea about Kelly playing at South Carolina. In his opinion, that was a good idea and a good fit for South Carolina. And Kelly tweeted back to him that, yeah, he'd be interested in doing that, et cetera, et cetera. And so now that has set off the Twitter world ablaze from a Gamecock fan standpoint about that idea. Kelly is having a phenomenal year for a 6-0 team ranked number 1 in junior college ball. He's passed for 2,400 yards, 24 touchdowns, 70% completion. He's rushed for about 200 yards, only thrown like 3 or 4 interceptions. I'll give you his exact stats a little bit later on. So, and then I see J.C. Sherbert from the Big Spur wrote this afternoon that basically under no circumstances would South Carolina be interested in taking Chad Kelly. And DJ told me Kelly would like to take a visit to South Carolina. And, yes, the idea of facing Clemson is something that burns inside him. And, you know, if you're South Carolina, you're losing a senior quarterback. You've got no one ready. You've got no one ready come next year. When you go to play North Carolina next year in Charlotte, you're going to have an untested quarterback, whether it's Connor Mitch, whether it's Lorenzo Nunez coming in. You know, you better protect yourself. And, you know, I know that
but they've been trying to win games now. I mean, there hasn't been a situation to put a guy in yet.
No, I'm saying from a recruiting standpoint, if a guy like Chad Kelly, let's just say he's interested, there's no question about his talent. Now, he can be a headache, you know, as you have seen. Has he matured? Has he grown up? Who knows? Maybe the time in junior college has humbled him. But I think if you're South Carolina and Chad Kelly calls and says, hey, I'd like to come visit, would you be interested? I don't think you just automatically hang up the phone. I think you try and find a way to take a look at him, evaluate him, maybe meet him in person, see what he's like, and go from there. Because you need a seasoned quarterback, somebody who's a little bit older and has been through it a little bit when you start off next year, or you're really going to be in trouble.
Yeah, but I mean, there's no guarantee that that he playing a year of junior college is going to be any more seasoned than a Connor Mitch that's been in the program, knows the offense, knows
hasn't taken a snap.
Well, neither has Chad Kelly's never taken a snap in a significant game. Junior college is not.
He does.
Corey Jenkins was the number one rated junior college quarterback in the country.
But he wasn't a quarterback.
Okay, well, he was the number 1 rated junior college quarterback in the country.
I don't know. He was number 1 rated quarterback. I think he might have been rated number 1 athletes.
You know, it's all these are panic moves. Everybody's panicking. Let's fire the defensive coordinator. Let's take a Clemson guy off the scrap heap here that, you know, they got kicked off the team and he's going to salvage everything. You're 6 games in. The offense hasn't been bad, number 1. The offense isn't the problem.
It's not
defense.
This year. I'm talking about next year. Who are you going to put out there quarterback?
I think they're worried about beating Furman right now. I don't think they're worried about North Carolina next year. You
always have to think about recruiting, or all of a sudden you lose your edge. You lose your talent, you lose your edge. And if you got a quarterback like that hanging out there who's interested, I think it's worth your time to place a phone call. Just my opinion. We'll be right back. All right, it's a Talking Tuesday. Those of you on the phone lines, try and be a little patient. You'll be rewarded. We'll get to you here in just a couple of moments. We got to get to Dabo Swinney, brought to you by South Carolina soybean farmers and their checkoff. Learn more at scsoybeans.org. Pork, powered by soy. All right, let's get to Dabo Swinney, and here he is from his presser earlier today.
This is a very good team coming in here. Louisville is a really good football team. It's going to be a big challenge. There's no doubt about that. They're 5-1. They're well coached, and they're confident. They play with a lot of confidence when you watch this team, and as they should. They've had a lot of success over the last few years within their program, and have had a bunch of big wins. And they got a lot of veteran guys that are. I know they have a new coaching staff, but they got a lot of veteran guys that have been a part of some big games. So you can see the confidence when you watch them play. Good team. Offensively, they want to run the football, and they've got about 4 backs that are big and strong, and they're going to force the issue. They're a gap scheme football team, so we've got to do a great job at the attack and taking on double teams and those type of things, being very sound with your gaps, especially when they cut the ball back. You have to tackle well because, again, they will force the issue from a physical standpoint in what they do. And when you play a team that's really committed like they are to running the football, then obviously then you have to be very disciplined from a play action standpoint. Heavy play action team coming off their I formation, and they do an excellent job with their concepts on the back end as far as getting guys open and creating one-on-ones and cross-country type routes. So big challenge for us. Their offensive line is as good as we've seen. Bunch of veterans, 4 starters back. They're a little different than what I've seen. It's been a long time since I've seen an offensive line flip their guys. Although we kind of look like we flip our guys right now. Our guys are all over the place. But they will actually flip them. Left tackle, left guard, or go to right tackle, right guard, and they do an excellent job of positioning their guys. But really impressed with their OL. Very impressed. Big, strong, physical guys, and again, a bunch of guys that have played a long time for them. Tight end is a very athletic guy that can run, got good size. They really try to involve him in the passing game, especially on their boots and nakeds and that type of thing. The receivers, very talented, quick, is a guy that had an excellent year for him last year. He's also a great returner for them. They've got speed in the slot, but the big question is whether or not Parker will be back. And guy's got 28 touchdowns or something in his career, and had 12 last year. He is great wide out, and so we expect him to be back this week. Sounds like he's going to play. So he's definitely a big-time weapon that they have not had to this point. So, and then quarterback, we've seen both guys on tape. The freshman went the distance last week up at Syracuse. Good young talent, and but we expect probably to see both quarterbacks in this ball game. Defensively, biggest word to describe them is aggressive, very aggressive. Same thing. A lot of guys who've played a bunch of ball. They were number 1 in the nation last year defensively, and they're number 1 in the nation this year defensively. And they're top 10 in just about every category you can come up with after. And they've played 6 games. So, the stats can be a little misleading after, 1 game or 2 games, even 3 games. But you play 6 games, you start to create a little bit of an identity. And this group has kind of picked up where they were last year. Very salty and athletic, fast, long guys. They do a great job with their pressure packages. 55 is one of the top leading sackers in all of the country throughout his career. I think, Vic does Vic lead the country for his career, and this guy's somewhere in the top, few. And then 94 is another guy that's very involved in pressuring the quarterback. They do a lot with him. He'll come off the edge. He'll come up the middle. move him around. They do an excellent job in creating or trying to create some confusion as far as where their pressure is coming from, in and out of their 3 and 4 man front. They do an excellent job on the back end. This is the most aggressive secondary that we've played. They will attack you downhill. Their safeties, if they really want to be involved, very, very physical at safety. So this is a heck of a team. And again, they're number 1 in the nation defensively for a reason. And it shows up on tape when you watch them. So a big challenge for us. Special teams, same thing. Excellent return people. So this is an all 3-phase challenge as we get ready for this one. But it's going to be another great day in the Valley. I mean, it's been a lot of fun the last couple weeks here. I think our crowds have been great. 3:30 kick. That's kind of the Chamber of Commerce kickoff time, I guess, around here. And I know everybody will be excited to have our 3rd game in a row here before we get back on the road next week. It surprises me. We got 200 tickets left, so we need to get them sold if we got 200 left. So surely there's 200 people out there we can squeeze in somewhere and get those last few gobbled up. But looking forward to it. Looking forward to a really big challenge. And our guys, I thought, had great energy last night at practice, getting back to work. Very impressed with how they played last week. And, we've just got to continue to improve and prepare the right way so that, we can have the type of performance on game day that we're looking for. Any questions?
Would you go through where you are with your offensive line, with all the moving parts you have?
We don't have enough time, Ed. We're a Chinese fire drill right now, but I tell you, it's fun. When we talked about it as a staff Sunday, as a matter of fact, the neat part of it is it's kind of forced us out of a comfort zone from a coaching standpoint. Usually you've got guys, they don't move around a whole lot in the offensive line. Maybe your left guard can play some right guard, but you usually don't, especially in the course of a game. You might change next week. Okay, my right tackle is going to play some left tackle this week, whatever, but you don't usually have as much going on as we have. I mean, this is by far the most versatility we've had in the offensive line. I mean, Kalen Davis is going to make some money because he's, first of all, playing great for us, but secondly, he's played everything. The only thing he hasn't done is snap the football. And he's done it all in a game. I mean, he's played everywhere. So it's really that part of it. I think the guys have taken ownership. They understand that, hey, we've got to cross-train. Where it's been a challenge is our practice, because like Reed Webster, for example. Reed Webster's played left tackle, right tackle, left guard, center, right guard. He's played everywhere, and he's got to be the second center. But we can't give him all the second reps at center in practice. So we're having to be creative with how we split our reps and prepare the guys. But we are where we were last week, from a kind of a starting point. And obviously Guillermo's out. We don't have him like we had last week. But Reed will be the second center. We're working Crowder at center. We're working Region at center. Region actually has done a little bit of snapping. He was – we kind of had a center tryout yesterday, from a snapping standpoint. So working those two guys. Zach Riggs is another guy that we're training up as a center that we think has got a chance to help us in time as he transitions from tight end to center.
Dabo Swinney. There's more. That's about 9 minutes. There's 43 more minutes on our website, sportstalksc.com. Couple of quick Louisville notes. He mentioned receiver Devontae Parker, their outstanding receiver. He did practice today. They're easing him back into the rotation there. And quarterback Will Gardner got in full work in practice today, according to the Cardinals offensive coordinator. All right, we'll get to those calls in a moment. Don't go away. All right, Dodgers have taken a 1-0 lead on St. Louis. They continue to bat 2 out in the top of the 6th. 2 phone calls once again. We thank you for your patience. It will be rewarded now with some quality airtime, though brief, here on Sports Talk. Delvin and Fountain Inn, welcome in. How are you?
I'm doing good. How you guys doing?
Man, we're doing great.
This whole Chad Kelly thing is interesting, and I agree with you, Phil. I think you should. Yeah, if I'm talking about, I will look into it because Clemson could be in the same situation they could be in this year. If Cole Stout would have had a great year and Deshaun Watson didn't play, then you would have went in there with a whole new redshirt freshman quarterback going to the next season, not even experienced, but you don't got to worry about that. Sakalai is going to the quarterback possible to walk-on starter next year. And you see what Georgia is doing with Bryce Ramsey. They playing him some more this year because Hudson Mason not being the filter, so they try to get him experience because they know what's going to happen. So I'll look into it because I think you're going to see a lot of Connor. I've got to do the last name. I think you're going to see a lot of him in that Furman game a lot.
Connor
so
Mitch.
Connor Mitch. So they can get him some playing time because basically I've got nobody behind him. I know you don't expect this New Year's kid to come in because the difference is Deshaun Watson came in January. This guy's coming in fall. You'll tell me he'll be the other quarterbacks out in fall and come in and start this first game against North Carolina as a true freshman?
Only unless he's a superstar. I really believe that Clemson had a plan all along, knowing the limitations of Cole Stout and knowing the talents of Watson. I believe that they were going to turn the program over to Watson around the time that they did in the Florida State game. It just made sense from a calendar and schedule standpoint. Unless Cole Stout opened up the season, passing for 2,000 yards, 15, he was just so good that you couldn't touch him, and he wasn't. Mm-hmm. And once Watson was given the ball against Florida State, that was it, because they never went back to Cole Stout. If they weren't interested in Watson taking over the team, they would have put Cole Stout back in.
Well, you saw what happened when Watson came in the game on the 4th series against Florida State, which was predetermined. There was no reason to take him out. Yeah. At that point, the offense took off.
I believe they had no plans on taking him out no matter what.
Well, I think if he would have thrown an interception there, they probably would have taken him back out.
If he had gone out there and fallen on his face, but I think they believed that they had. Here's the thing. If I'm a Clemson fan, here's the thing.
Why didn't they do it earlier?
Yeah, why you do it against Georgia?
Well, it's easy, and there's a lot of people in that fourth quarter when the offense.
You had.
They didn't. I really don't think they knew he was this good. I think they knew they had something, but they just weren't sure until a guy goes out there and performs. Now, that drive against Georgia, his first drive when he went down there, that ball that he threw for the touchdown.
Incredible.
That's not a pass that a lot of guys can make. So but I really think they wanted to give Cole Stout an opportunity. They felt like they did right by him, the 5th-year senior, but yeah, it is definitely Deshaun Watson's team. And Deshaun Watson, if he stays healthy, he's going to be one of the all-time greats at Clemson and the ACC. He's a special player. There's no doubt about it.
I pity any young quarterback that goes to Clemson the next couple of years because you're going to grow old standing on the sidelines.
Well, he's only going to be there 2 more years after this.
You think, unless he decides to do a Taj Boyd and come back for the senior year.
Well, he's better than Taj Boyd. I think right now, if Taj Boyd had another year and was playing, I'm not saying Deshaun Watson would be the starter. He'd be playing every 4 series. Well, he would be on the field.
They've got a quarterback committed in Tucker Israel who just set the passing record in the state of Florida. And, he's not going to smell the field for at least 2 years. Now, he'll come in redshirt, I guess, then figure that Watson leaves after year 3, but you have no guarantees. All right, thanks for the call. Quickly, we go to Gamecock Will in Easley. Hi, Gamecock Will. How's it going, man?
How you doing, Phil?
Good.
I want to throw a few things at you right quick. I didn't know you got a whole lot of time, but number one, you're right, they can't fire nobody. We got one of the best coaching staffs we ever had. Number two, I watched the Steve Spurrier show the other night, and he said he would take suggestions on offense and defense. I'm going to throw out a couple of suggestions. In defense, really ain't going to face no passing teams left except Tennessee and Clemson. I put 5 men in the box. 7 men in the box with the one spying on the quarterback and to stop the run. We're getting beat on the passing game anyway. Then try to put more pressure on the quarterback. And on offense, like you said, Phil, really don't have a true backup quarterback. We got a player there that knows the system. He's playing the Wildcat right now. Why not give Farrah Cooper more reps on quarterback? Give a little extra time for like a second string quarterback. If he knows the system, let Farrah Cooper do the thing. And as far as Chad Kelly goes, I agree 100%. Let's get the man on board. I mean, we got to have somebody next year ready.
All right, thanks very much. Those are all worthwhile suggestions. The only one I think Spurrier wouldn't listen to would be making the Wildcat a bigger part of the offense. Back in a moment. It's 2-0 Dodgers, and they're still batting in the sixth. Got to take care of some business. Tonight's recruiting report brought to you by South Carolina's Electric Cooperatives, sponsors of the 2014 Touchstone Energy Bowl. By the way, the rosters for the Touchstone Energy Bowl will be announced on October 27th. Of course, the game December 13th in Myrtle Beach. Make your plans on being there. There will be a bunch of major college committed players in that game, guys that weren't picked for the Shrine Bowl. As for recruiting, I mentioned DJ Jones. Talked to him last night. He's taken officials to Florida State, to whom he's committed, and USC. Said he's looking at Clemson, Alabama, Auburn, Ole Miss, and West Virginia for other visits. He's been talking to his parents about taking other visits. He had planned to be at Florida State for the Clemson game, couldn't make it, but he's going to go there for the Notre Dame game. He remains in regular contact with Deke Adams at USC and Marion Hobby at Clemson. They're both, of course, giving him a hard sell about being able to come in and play right away. He says, as of right now, I'm committed to Florida State. It's not any kind of soft, medium, or hard. But if today was signing day, I'd be signing with Florida State, but I am weighing my options. Then he filled me in on his Chad Kelly observations, and he said, quote, he wants to go to South Carolina on an official. You put 2 and 2 together. He ain't a selfish player like I want to play against Clemson. He feels like South Carolina would be a good fit for him, seeing how they lose Dylan Thompson. He'll go anywhere will they allow their quarterback to throw the ball and have the option to run it? As far as I know, it's Ole Miss and Tennessee. That's all I know. End of the quote. Kelly has led East Mississippi to a 6-0 record, number one ranking in junior college ball, 2,051 yards, 24 touchdowns, 4 picks, 69% completion, and has rushed for 200 yards and 2 scores. Jones has 14 tackles, a sack, and 4 tackles for loss. Dante Sawyer, his teammate, defensive lineman, USC commitment, 13 tackles, 3 sacks, 7 tackles for loss. USC commitment, defensive end Quandeski Whitlow, Opelika, Alabama, has scheduled an official visit to Louisville for January 17th. Junior quarterback Drayton Arnold of Myrtle Beach was at Clemson last weekend, enjoyed his visit there. He said Wake Forest is showing him a lot of interest right now, and he hopes that they offer. He has an offer from Ohio, with Clemson, Wake Forest, Duke, NC State, and East Carolina showing interest. In basketball, Tevin Mack of Dreer went to Clemson last weekend, thoroughly enjoyed it. He's also been to Georgia and VCU, and the Tigers are making a strong push for him, telling him there's early playing opportunities. He may get over to see USC practice this week, official to Connecticut this weekend, and then USC the weekend after that. In baseball, junior catcher Mark Coffers of Naples, Florida, decommitted from Ole Miss and committed to USC, according to the Naples Daily News. He batted .280 last season, 13 RBIs, and 18 runs scored. That's recruiting. Top of the hour break. We'll be back.
Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
Hour number 2, Sports Talk Talking Tuesday. We've heard from Dabo Sweeney tonight. Going to hear from Lorenzo Ward coming up. Also from Frank Martin, Chip Weil, and more of your calls. 800-956-7266 is how you can dial us up tonight. Email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Let's get you our South Carolina Farm Bureau Insurance high school football report for tonight. And the new polls are out for this week. This is the South Carolina Prep Media football poll for week 7. And Dorman is your new number 1 in 4A, ahead of Burns, followed by Dutch Fork, North Augusta, Goose Creek, York, Westwood, Northwestern, Fort Dorchester, and South Florence. In 3A, again, Myrtle Beach, followed by Hartsville, Wren, AC Flora, Greer, Daniel, Orangeburg, Wilkinson, Broome, Seneca, and Belton Honeypath. In 2A, it's Dillon, Loris, Timberland, Woodruff, Fairfield Central, top 5. Then Chesney, Newberry, Powdersville, Central, and Batesburg, Leesville. And in 1A, Christ Church leads the way, followed by Allendale, Fairfax, Bamberg, Earhart, Hemingway, Estill, Lamar, a tie for 7th between Great Falls and Calhoun County. Then it's Williston, Elko, and McBee. There you go with the South Carolina Farm Bureau Insurance high school football report for tonight. Calhoun County, that reminds me of a thought I had watching the football game. Casey Crosby dressed and played on special teams here in Game 6. And my thought was, why are you burning his redshirt year here in Game 6? And how do you plan to use him? Any thoughts on that? Have you heard anything more about him?
Have not.
I mean, that surprised me. They left Nosovich home and they left Ard home.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't travel. And, of course, they left Shaq Rowland home. They took Crosby, they dressed him out, and he played on special teams. I was surprised that occurred.
They
I thought
have
they would
not been shy about playing guys as freshmen, even a little bit. If you really want to get kind of goofy, and people are talking about Connor Mitch and who the next quarterback should be, remember Connor Shaw was kind of thrown into a game against Auburn his freshman year, and he played a little bit there, and then that was pretty much it for him. Season. They went back to Garcia the next week, and Garcia went the rest of the distance. Spurrier did not need to play him that year, but he did.
Well, he was frustrated with Garcia.
Yeah, benched him in the fourth
couple
quarter.
of fumbles, I believe, in that game, and they pulled him and put Shaw in.
Right, and Shaw finished it out, and South Carolina lost that game. And the next week, Garcia came back in, and they ended up winning the SEC East that year. But it just gets you back to the other point too. People that want Connor Mitch. Spurrier has the quickest hook of a quarterback in the SEC, and he still hasn't even mentioned Mitch. That tells you he knows that he doesn't have anybody that can win right now and play better than Dylan Thompson. They got the best quarterback in, for better or for worse.
All right, your thoughts, 800-956-7266. Sports Talk, Tuesday night. We'll be right back. All right, we're back with you here on Sports Talk. Now, I knew I wasn't crazy. In the state newspaper's story Sunday, David Cloninger, he wrote that Crosby started the game on special teams. However, on the post-game play-by-play book that they put out, they have a list of everybody that played in the game. Crosby's not listed as having played in the game. His name is not mentioned anywhere in the post-game game book. So, but David has him as having started the game on special teams. So, yeah, I wonder now if it doesn't show up in the game book, K-Mac, does it mean that he didn't play?
Did it ever happen?
That it ever?
I think he.
Yes, we're redshirting him. He never played in the game.
There's no evidence of that.
Yeah. So anyway, that's what was written there. That's where I got that from, and but it's not in the official game book. Going to hear from Lorenzo Ward in a moment. Let's hit another phone call or two here very quickly. We go to Fritz in Piedmont. Hello, Fritz, and welcome to Sports Talk.
How you doing, gentlemen?
Man, we're doing great.
Myself.
Good.
You know, I see that big old Carolina moon up there full, just shining down. They must have hit that boy Will in the head because I think the boy's crazy. But anyway, about the Gamecocks, this is what I feel about it. This is the time that people need to get behind this football team, not jump ship. This is the time where we need to pull for these boys and let them know that we're behind them, because we as fans are equally involved in everything they do as much as anything. And I would even go as far as to say, if anybody wants to give up their tickets, I'll be glad to come to Williams-Brice. They have never lost with me in the building.
Wow.
I'm 7-0.
Steve Spurrier might want to get you season tickets.
Including that first game against Tennessee where they went for the extra point and South Carolina beat them. So the boy took me that game special because he knew I was a good luck charm. And they won that game.
Well,
anyway,
listen, there'll be a ticket
on the bus on the way up to Clemson.
There'll be a ticket or two available for the Furman game. They're only $26. They're only $26. So pick you up a ticket and come on in next weekend.
Hey, I might do it.
Yeah.
But like I said, we're not fair weather friends when it comes to Gamecock football. You cannot be that way. Put your stuff on your car, stand up, stick your chest out, and pull for your team. That's the way I feel about it, gentlemen. I appreciate your time. I hope you have a good evening.
You too, sir. Yeah, I think that should be the case for everybody. You know, you're going to have some down times, and you got to stay behind the team. And the true fans do. The bandwagoners, they're on, they're off, they're on, they're off, depending on what happens on any given week. That sounds like a true Gamecock fan there. All right, back to the phones, and we head to Tim in Allendale. Hi, Tim. Welcome to Sports Talk.
Hey, gentlemen, y'all doing all right tonight?
Yes, sir. How about you?
Well, you know, we probably got a good bit to lament over, but the thing that I'm really most impressed about is the way the line is blocking. And I called you guys a few times. I said, let's get out of that darn zone, read, whatever that might be. And, boy, we got linemen down there 3 and 4 and 5 yards at the Georgia game and all of the games since then. So somebody must have been listening. We are doing aggressive run blocking. It showed up Saturday night. And I'm just tickled to death to see us get aggressive. I think that's the way you must play football. I don't think you can sit back on your haunches. I think it's a mindset that, you know, you're going to get them. But,
well, I think South Carolina's probably lost some of its swagger, having lost 2 games the way they did. And they've got to recover that for the second half of the season, especially in 3 weeks. Well, you know, almost 3 weeks when they go to Auburn. And if not, they're going to get creamed and embarrassed by Auburn in a big SEC game. So they still have a chance to regain a sense of pride and self-worth as a football team. Right now, they're pretty beat down, you know, from their head coach on down. Everybody is on them, on the coaches, on the players. This one's no good. This one has no talent. This one can't coach. This one can't call plays. And you know, they still have an opportunity to do some good things, but they got to fix a lot of things between now and Auburn.
Hey, we gonna do good. I mean, the fact is, we probably lost the three pretty good football teams. Not that we could, but we could have won two of the three. One of them we just got plumb whipped. But honestly, I think Texas A&M has shown that they're a pretty good team. I know they lost Saturday, and I think you're gonna find throughout the season, 3 or 4 games out, that Kentucky and Missouri are up there in the top 25 or so, and that's probably we're maybe just on the outside, but. We're not as strong on defensive line. I think that's obvious. We couldn't tackle that boy the other night. Probably couldn't get our hands on him. Mm-hmm. But Kentucky did a great blocking job too, and they were really hyped up. I mean, it's really good for Kentucky. I know they've had some bad seasons, but those guys meant to win that game. They had the blackout. They were just what a home team should be.
Yeah.
And they did the job. Missouri, but when you look at it again, hey, we're playing 2 pretty good football teams, and we're up by 14 points deep into the fourth quarter. Now, we lost those games, but honestly, I'm not embarrassed. I'm not ashamed of them. I saw 100% effort on the field. I mean, we maybe were a little careless with the football at times. Our defense, I don't think it's the lack of trying. Just what you said at the start of the program. We need a 6'5", 295-pound, 3 or 4 of them, like we did last year. And but we can't help that. I mean, they're doing it good, and they're going to grow, and they're going to learn. But hey, the way we ran that football at Kentucky, Missouri, we're just a different ball team right now, and we're a little. I'd say one of the weak points. We're not multifaceted at quarterback. He pretty much can play the pass probably with Dylan. I don't think he's going to scare anybody running. But that being said, Dylan will settle down. He has shown he can do it. He's just been a little keyed up, and I think he feels the pressure just a little. But, hey, we'll be just fine, and I'm proud as I can be of.
All right, thank you very much. And, I'm afraid that when it comes to quarterbacks like Dylan Thompson, Cole Stout, you can't win in big-time college football anymore with those kind of quarterbacks. You have to have a quarterback who can run, who is a threat running the football. Look at your top teams. Look at the teams that are going to be playing in your national championship. Every one of them will have a quarterback who can there's exceptions.
Yeah, I disagree with that. AJ,
he says A.J. McCarron. Okay, look, you could have put Cole Stout on Alabama's team and won a national championship. No knock on Cole. I'm just saying you don't have to be with that Alabama team. You didn't have to be. Look at the 2 quarterbacks that won national championships at Alabama. Standing alone, they aren't considered great quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
McElroy and McCarron,
but they had great talent around them, and they didn't run an offense that required the quarterback to run. Most teams are requiring a mobile quarterback, and South Carolina's offense is a zone read offense that typically requires a quarterback who can run.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of the big differences this year is the fact that Connor Shaw, because of his running ability, 3rd down situations could escape the pressure and get you a first down without throwing the ball. And Dylan Thompson can get you a first down throwing the ball. But if he's not hitting his passes, he doesn't have that escapability and speed to get you that first down.
But I mean, he ran a little bit more against Kentucky than he has the past couple of weeks. They ran a couple of option plays. One, he pitched it, and they got the big game with Mike Davis. Another one, he kept it and got 15, 16 yards. He actually did move the chains a few times with his feet.
Mm-hmm.
So he has a little bit of mobility. It's not like he's a statue back there. He's not anything close to Connor Shaw, but Connor Shaw was a different type of quarterback.
He was a quarterback.
Their offense isn't the problem. Dylan Thompson is not the problem. I mean, their offense, they put enough points up to win most every game they played. 38 points should beat Kentucky. I mean, it should. And the offense gave them 10 points, and I'll give them that. But
when the game was on the line, he couldn't move the team down the field in 2 opportunities, Missouri and UK. All right, Dodgers clinging to a 2-0 lead. Bottom of the 7th, St. Louis got a runner on first base. Nobody out. Getting a little tight there. Clayton Kershaw still on the mound. Let's give you a little more. Talking Tuesday brought to you by South Carolina soybean farmers and their checkoff. Learn more at scsoybeans.org. Pork, powered by soy. Here is USC defensive coordinator Lorenzo Ward a little while ago after the Gamecocks practice.
Bye week going to be for your guys, sort of clear your heads after what's happened the last 2 games?
Well, we got some things we need to work on fundamentally, and so we'll try to simplify even more. And so this week will be good for us to try to get simpler on defense and get guys are playing full speed all the time.
Has that been a problem? The fact that guys just aren't executing this game that you have now, so you that sort of drop it down a notch or two?
Well, I mean that's obviously if we're making mental mistakes, then we got to do. We are obviously as coaches we're probably doing too much, so we got to make it simpler.
How do you get simpler? Do you get rid of one of the base defenses, or do you do less plays? How does it?
No, we'll do less calls. We'll still run 4-2-5, and we'll still run 3-4 based on the situation in the game, but we'll just have limited calls in each one.
Is that frustrating for you as a coach to have to go simpler, or are you just doing what you have to do?
Not at all. You got to do what your players can do. You win ball games, and we've given up 13 points and 14 points in the fourth quarter of the last 2 ball games. We're stopping either ball game, and we win both ball games. We're sitting there 5-1 instead of 3-2. So we got to do stuff that's whatever it takes to get better.
How frustrating is it for you as a coach just to watch Kentucky just basically run the same play over and over again, the Wildcat, and they get turning out guys, and the guy breaks up a 40-yarder and all this stuff? Like, I mean, you have to be steaming on the side.
Well, I mean, again, you got to figure out what the problem is, and I think we'll change the way we do sideline organization as well. I'm gonna go to the box because there's the problems was real simple. If we just fixed it, if we'd have saw it, again, having GAs up there and not knowing exactly what they're looking at, it's not their problem. It's my fault. So I'm gonna go to the box and I'll leave Deacon, Coach Bakken on the sideline to make the adjustments, and because that what we did early in the ball game, but the plan we had for Wildcat would have worked if we had just saw what the simple breakdown was, and so we tried to fix it on the sideline by doing something else, and that's not what we need to do.
So you being in the box allows you to more easily facilitate changes you need to make.
Well, and I can see what's going on. Mm-hmm. I can see what who wasn't in that gap or which guy didn't run the stunt correctly. So we'll make that change.
Now that's going to limit, obviously, your communications, face-to-face communications with the
the
players on the sidelines. You always like doing that.
I do, but again, each group is different, and we don't have a veteran football team by no means on defense, and so we got to do what's best for them, and Coach Bakken and Coach Adams can convey the message to them instead of me doing it face-to-face. They can do it, but the adjustment part is the biggest part we need.
Simple things like tackling. There are a lot of missed tackles, especially on those Wildcat runs. How do you fix that at this stage of the game?
Well, we got to tackle more. We're doing some different tackling drills. We're going to change up the way we practice. As far as our individual, we'll do a tackling circuit on Tuesday. We'll do a turnover circuit on Wednesday to start out practicing. So we won't worry about us running many plays against their particular offense, our opponent offense, as we will more fundamentals, because that's what we need.
All right, Lorenzo Ward from this afternoon. K-Mac, I'd say you just busted a kidney over that 3-run homer, but that wouldn't be appropriate.
Yeah, that's a tough inning there for the Dodgers, needless to say, but pretty much deja vu for this series, status quo.
Cardinals up we'll get back to your phone calls in just a couple of moments. Get back to talking some football, a little basketball as well. But right now, let's get back out there on the track. NASCAR going through the playoffs. Some news today off the track. And we welcome in the president of Darlington Raceway, Chip Weil, to a Sports Talk, who is at an event tonight. Are you in Charlotte?
I'm actually in High Point. Kevin Harvick and his wife, Delana, have a foundation, and they're throwing a big foundation event. It's been fun. We got, Danica is here, and Tony's here, and a bunch of people that I don't get to see too often, so it's good to come visit and hug their necks and see how everybody's doing.
What are people talking about related to racing?
We hadn't talked anything about racing, just talking about, kids and the great thing about our little sport, our big sport, is it is a little family, and we're all very intimate with one another and know a lot about each other. So I haven't talked a single thing about race cars. Talked a lot about our kids and all the other happenings going on just within each other's lives.
Yeah. Well, looking back to Kansas, real good finish. Kyle Larson trying to reel in Joey Logano, just didn't have enough horsepower, didn't have enough time, but still he made a pretty strong move. And though he's not in the chase, he's trying to get that first career win. And obviously a guy that's getting better and is going to be someone to contend with next year. But you got to give it to Logano. Very strong showing. And the Penske team, even though Keselowski didn't have a good day, they sure have been strong in the postseason.
God, I think they won 3 out of the last 4 and 5 out of the last 7. And I certainly think they're still the team to beat. And I still believe that 2 car is the team to beat. They had a little bit of bad luck last weekend, but they're a really strong organization. They do a really good job information sharing between teams, and certainly seem to all be hitting on all cylinders. So those guys are going to be the ones we need to look out for. And Kyle Larson, man, what can you say about that kid? He's 21 years old and is racing with the big boys. He's going to tracks for the second time, and it seems like every week he's got speed and is not making mistakes. So I expect that kid to be the real deal moving forward, and expect a lot out of him next year.
All right, so 2 more races in this segment, Charlotte and then Talladega. Logano's the only one who is into the next phase of the playoffs, so he can kind of relax a little bit. But it's going to be hairy in Charlotte, and, of course, the way they have it set up, obviously on purpose, to make Talladega as wild as possible.
Yeah, and I mean, we keep talking about Talladega being the wild card, but it seems like Kansas was just as crazy and just as much a wild card.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to continue to happen. Charlotte's a really fast racetrack. It's one of those places where the cars like Brad Keselowski and that Miller Lite team and the 4 car are going to shine. They're really good at those 1.5-mile tracks, and really the 2 car needs a good finish. The 88 car needs a good finish. The 48 needs a good finish. All 3 of those teams are very capable of winning and have proven it this year. So I expect there to be a little bit of strategic planning going on behind the scenes right now to figure out how to get those cars up front and keep them up front and potentially even take a chance at the end of the race and not pay it or take 2 tires in order to get out in front of the field and try to capture that victory.
Tough day for the Hendricks team overall. As you mentioned, the guys that had their problems, except really for Jeff Gordon, who just continues to roll right along. Interesting thing about Kansas was the tire situation. I heard an interview during the race with the head honcho from Goodyear down the track. He said, hey, not our problems. We brought them a good tire. It's the setups. It's the way they're setting these cars up. That's leading to the right fronts to blow. But I also read where they went longer on the tires, longer runs at higher speeds, and that's what led to those right fronts in a lot of cases blowing out.
Yeah, and so Goodyear mounts tires at the track. They give the crew chief a sheet that says you need to run these minimum pressures and don't go below it. But these cars are so close. The competition is so, and the cars are so close. You got to take every competitive advantage you can get. And certainly running below the minimum tire pressure gives you more grip and gives you more speed, right? You can get through the corner faster. So, you know what? These guys, they've been doing this for years. The setups are very aggressive, especially on that right front tire. They have been for years, and they do abuse them. But at the same time, you got to know that you got to have a setup underneath the car that's going to last through a tire run. So the great thing about our sport is we're very competitive and very close. The tough thing is you're always teetering on being too aggressive and blowing a right front tire. And certainly nobody wants to do that, and they want to keep our drivers safe and keep our cars from having to go straight to the scrapyard.
Yeah.
But that's just part of the business. It's part of what we do, and that's the reason NASCAR racing is so great.
All right, real quick, we'll let you go. What about the announcement today, Sam Hornish to replace Ambrose at RPM?
Yeah, I worked with Sam at Penske in '09. He's a great guy, great family guy. I think he deserves another opportunity. He's proven that he's a heck of a race car driver, open wheel champion, Indy 500 champion, won some nationwide races in Gibbs equipment, so he knows he can win. Certainly battled for the championship last year in the NASCAR Nationwide Series. He is well deserving of another opportunity, and I think he'll do really good things over at RPM.
Who's your pick this weekend, Saturday night?
I think the 24 team is going to be strong, but I still think that the 2 team is going to be the team to beat. They've been really strong all year on those mile and a half tracks. And Brad Keselowski, he's on a mission and certainly has to get himself out of a hole. So I expect that 2 team to get the victory lane on Saturday night.
All right, my friend. Have yourself a great rest of the evening at your party. Give my best to Danica, will you, please?
I'm sitting right next to her. I'll give her a hug for you.
I'm embarrassed. All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Am I turning red? I'm embarrassed. I hope she didn't hear that.
You called her a world-class driver. So
I gave her the ultimate compliment a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And I stood next to her during her first interview at Darlington behind her hauler. And don't take that the wrong way, people. Hauler, that's what they use to carry some people out there. Some sexist, perverted mind is going to be thinking that hauler means something else. And I asked her a question after she hit the wall at Darlington for the first time. So, yeah, I feel like we're pretty close. All right. How's your baseball team doing?
It's still losing.
Too bad.
3-2.
See ya. Played one extra series more than the Yankees. That's all. Back to the phones we go. And it is let's put this guy on suicide watch. Ronnie in North Augusta. How are you?
Doing good, Bill. I got the knots a little bit loose. I just unloosened it and got myself down a minute to call it. Hey, what I wanted to ask you about, I don't know a lot about what's going to go into, picking the final 4 teams for the playoff at the end of the year. I haven't seen a lot of details about that. But is strength of schedule going to be, do you know if that's going to be one of the factors that's going to play into it?
Oh, of course. Yeah. That is something they will look at.
Because I know last night you said something about, if Clemson ran the table, there would be a possibility of them working their way up to get in that. What I'm thinking with the SEC West right now, as strong as it is for these programs, if strength of schedule wasn't figured into it, I would think that either Clemson or Florida State really would have probably a better chance than anybody in the country to be one of those teams every year, because I don't see anybody else, and I don't know what Petrino will do at Louisville, but I don't see anybody else compete with Clemson or Florida State in the ACC.
Well, Clemson's strength of schedule right now is 8th in the country. And,
but what about, does it help you when you lost to the teams?
Well, yeah, as a matter of fact, strength of schedule is a positive. Even when you lose to a team, if it's ranked higher than you, that's kind of a positive for you from that standpoint on that statistic. But keep in mind, it's going to come down. They're going to have data, but these aren't computers. These are 13 human beings who, at the end of the day, like a jury at a trial, after looking over all the data, it's going to come down to 13 opinions on 4 teams. Yeah. And it's going to be, in the minds of Condoleezza Rice and Dan Rakovich and Pat Hayden and some of the others, in their minds, it's going to be, I think this team's the best team in the country. I think this team is the best team in the country. I think. It's going to come down to what they think.
So it's going to be a lot of subjective at the end of the year.
It's all subjective.
And I didn't know if it was going to be, but I know it is the conference championship, what kind of weight that was going to figure into it and different things. So it's really, we'll see how it goes. But I tell you what, with it like it is, I do believe the loser of the Florida State Notre Dame game will be eliminated. I don't think Florida State, in fact, Clemson probably maybe a little bit better right now with Winston taking over. Watson than Florida State.
All right, Ronnie, we got to hit a break, but got what you're saying there. We appreciate the phone call. We'll be right back.
it's fun to go into your first day.
All right, Frank Martin in just a moment. Wanted to mention I communicated with Ray Tanner over the past couple of days. He informed me today that he completed his investigation into the injury of the USC cheerleader at Kentucky and what all went into that. And what he concluded was that nothing was done wrong. Her shoes were wet and she slipped out of the grip of a male cheerleader. He caught her, and on the way down, she hit her head on the turf or the cement, whatever. That's what caused her injury. So nothing related to the stunt or the formation or anything like that. So there's not going to be any limitations on the cheerleaders or anything like that from stopping them from doing what they were doing.
I'm always amazed that more stuff doesn't happen with cheerleaders at basketball games when they're doing.
We're deep into the cheerleading world.
Well, yeah, I've got a bunch of girls running around my house that love cheered, deeper than I probably want to be, quite frankly. But I've seen them go down at basketball games before and pop back up. But they put it out there too, and that was a scary situation at the game. I mean, it stopped the whole game, as everybody knows.
Absolutely. All right, USC has started men's and women's basketball practice now. The ladies started today, the men yesterday. We didn't get to this with Frank Martin last night, but it's still good. Here is Martin, some of him talking yesterday at his preseason press conference as he opens up year 3 with the Gamecocks.
To go into your first day and have a feel to what your players do good and don't do well. And so you can try and put them in the right places from day one so you can have ideas on how your team is going to play the first time you take the court. And it's a fun feeling, especially, we got a group of guys. I can't say enough good things about them. I realize that you guys are going to write your stories as the season progresses based on wins and losses. I get all that. But I can tell you as a coach, it's fun to see the culture that these guys are building in that locker room and their daily approach and commitment to representing that uniform the right way.
Frank, just from watching the guys during off-season workouts, and you had Sin and Ty with you in Europe, what have you seen improvement-wise from the team as a whole?
Just normal maturation. It's just they respect each other. They push each other to work. Watching, I'll give you a quick example. Watching, and I'm going to use the 2 names you just used. Watching Ty go up against Marcus Stroman and Senderis going up against Blanton, it's fun to watch. You got 2 guys that understand speed, understand what we do, and they're out there trying to make those freshmen look bad. And that's the way it should be. And then when the play's over, they're trying to help those freshmen understand what they did wrong. And then the thing that's encouraging about those freshmen is that they're going nose to nose with 2 guys that are good players that have been through it and not backing down one step. So that's what I see, and that's where the growth is the most obvious.
Coach, knowing you were brought here to take this program to new heights, do you feel any pressure going into this season to come close to at least being in the conversation for a bid for the NCAA tournament, or at least to get there, knowing this is your 3rd year and perhaps there's that pressure on you now to see that success in the win-loss column?
If you were my boss, I'd probably feel pressure because that's what you're worried about. Was that live television at 6 a.m. today? Was that you live on television at 6, or was that recorded? Come on, man. I was going to try and give you some credit. You've been working since early this morning. I don't worry about that stuff, man. I can care less. Go look at my background and see where I sit at today and you think I'm worried about pressure? For winning games, please. I come from nothing. If what I do is not good enough, I will go back to nothing. I was happy with nothing. I will be happy with nothing again if that's the path my life is designed to have. I don't worry about. My job is not to win games. That's what you judge me on. My job is to help people. I keep my focus on that. If we win enough games, we'll have a lot of fun together.
Well, that's an admirable trait to have, helping young people. But I think by and large, the people that buy tickets to go to the basketball games, they want you to win games. If you help people along the way, that's nice. It's not the other way around. Helping people and winning games along the way, that's not what they have in mind when they contribute and buy the tickets. They want you to win games and, oh, by the way, help people along the way. Anyway, we understand what he's saying. I think deep down inside, he knows he's there to win basketball games. We'll be right back. right, some email into us here, talkback@sportstalksc.com, and we might squeeze in another phone call before the program comes to an end. This is from Van, who writes, Phil, why are you so ready to bail on Connor Mitch? Do you know something about his performance or lack of ability? Seems to me he was performing pretty well in preseason and was a 4-star prospect, whatever that's worth. It is surprising that he hasn't seemed to grab the number 2 spot from a walk-on, but how is Mitch actually performing in weekly practices? Well, we don't know. We don't get to see practices. Other than Spurrier's coy remarks about who is number 2, do you really have any evidence to say that Connor Mitch is unable to perform effectively if needed this year or next year when he'll have another spring and summer under his belt? No, I do not have any evidence to know anything about how he's going to play. And we saw him in the open scrimmages and things of that nature. And at one point, he had a very good scrimmage one Saturday, and the coaches had a lot of good things to say about him. Then he had some poor scrimmages, and Orth moved up. So, you know, if you're going back to my comment about if Chad Kelly is interested, they should take a look. I'm just saying, you know, Chad Kelly is obviously a very talented player, and he has D1 experience under his belt. And he's got a full season of junior college ball now under his belt. And, you know, if you want to take the chance, if you've got a chance to get a guy who's got some experience, sort of like Bo Wallace at Ole Miss, you know, he came to Ole Miss with sort of a sketchy reputation. In fact, I think he and the head coach there had a history before. In fact, I think he was at the junior college where the coach was, and I think there was an issue there, but he brought him to Ole Miss, and now, you know, look what he's doing. So all I'm saying, if you're South Carolina with your quarterback situation the way it is, if Chad Kelly sends a Facebook message, an email, or a phone call to say, hey, would you be interested? I'm interested.
I think they're always interested in guys they think can help them.
Take a look then.
I mean, but why Chad Kelly? First of all, why? I don't know what.
Because he's the only one who is saying that he'd be interested.
Oh, well, you know,
that we know.
I'm sure
of.
there's other guys that are interested in. In playing at South Carolina, and I agree with the email. I just don't think there's any need to panic and act like the quarterback position's in flux now. They're in big trouble. You don't know. Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't. You got to hope that Steve Spurrier and G.A. Mangus have been recruiting the past 4 years, and they have guys on their roster that they believe in. Connor Mitch was supposed to be the big guy.
They don't have a Deshaun Watson.
Well, not many teams do.
They don't have that.
Not many teams do.
You know, see, they had a good situation. You had Connor Shaw backing up Garcia, and you knew that if you had to make the move after Shaw got past his freshman year, you had something you could count on. Then you had Thompson backing up Shaw, and you knew you had something you could count on. But right now, you don't have anybody that you can count on. Knowingly can count on backing up Thompson or prepared to take over the team next year. Hey, thank you for the email. Thank you for the phone calls. Thanks for joining us tonight here on Sports Talk. We're back tomorrow night with a bunch more. Thank you, Steak Man. K-Mac. Sorry about the Dodgers.
Yeah,
hang in there. Have a great night, everybody, and we'll see you tomorrow.